What's up, 3D modeling class? It's your week 9 lecture. 2 listener requests to start, and then we're going to look at using the fSpy add-on to add our 3D model to an image, a real photograph that I've taken, and using an HDRI for environmental lighting. So a few things to get to tonight, but I think this stuff is cool. Okay, first listener request is talking about glass, shadows and glass and things like that. Now, glass is tricky. And we're doing this from a cycles perspective, because cycles is the more accurate renderer, but it's not perfect. And like, there are lots of other render engines out there besides the ones that are built into Blender. Some of the more notable ones include Redshift, makes a render engine for several programs. They make it for Maya and Cinema 4D and Blender. Redshift is one. Octane is another one. Houdini is a third. LuxCore is a fourth. And they all have strengths and weaknesses. Many of those I would say are like superior to Cycles. But they're like premium, so you're like paying for it. And like, why are render engines different, you might say? I'm still talking. We're not doing Blender stuff yet. They all kind of take in the same parameters. They say like, well, here's a mesh, here's a light, here's a thing, but how they do the calculations for the lighting and the ray tracing is different. And one of the more notable differences between the render engines is how it handles glass. And the term for how light moves through glass is called Caustics, Caustics. So let me show you an image. Let me pull it up here. You can do an internet image search, but take a look at this donut here. This is a glass donut. And so like, you can see like, there's like a little, like, in the movie Toy Story where like Sid takes the magnifying glass and he like turns it so that like the little beam of light, melts a thing. The light is traveling through the magnifying glass, and like the shape of the light is changing and focusing on a point. And so this is like the term for all of this is caustics. And so some render engines are better than others at calculating the path of light through glass. And Cycles, unfortunately, is not the best, but it can do it. And let me show you some tips on using Cycles for caustics and having light shining through glass and things like that. So let's just dig right into this. So first thing, I'm just gonna make a very simple like window and have light shining through it. So next thing I'm gonna do is like a cube like this. We're gonna be inside the cube, like such. Let me move my light outside of here, and I just need to like cut a window into this box. So tab to edit, Control R, do like a couple of things like that. Control R, do a couple of things like this. I didn't even need a floor, I realized, and GZ, and let's just delete this. There we go. Delete this face. Okay, so we're gonna have light shining through this thing into the thing. So let's make sure I'm in Cycles, make sure I'm using my GPU. Okay, and let me move this a little closer. Okay, so here's what's happening. The light is shining. Let's make this 5,000 watts. I'm doing this like so crude. Okay, whoops. And so here is gotta get my camera in the right spot. I suppose it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even necessarily matter that the camera's in the right spot. Okay. So the light is shining through here. There's no glass. Okay, now let me fill in this hole here 2 for edge select. I'm just going to make that one thing glass. So I'm going to go F to fill that in. I'm going to go to my materials. I'm going to do, so actually first I need a new material that's on the whole thing. This is just going to be like a box material. It's just a regular old thing. New material slot. And this one's going to be glass. Now, and I will assign it to that surface or that face. And rather than principled BSDF, let's do glass BSDF. Okay. The other thing that I have heard is that, so there's different, just like different render engines use different mathematical functions to determine the lighting. Cycles has a couple here. Multiscatter GX is one of them. I have heard and sort of experienced that Beckman, the Beckman distribution method, works a little bit better for having light come through. Okay. Now, so now if I go inside the sphere here, you can see that, or inside the cube, you can see that there is some lighting coming through. Now, first thing, my roughness is at 5 or like 0.5, which means it's like pretty rough. So that's, fine. But let's just turn this down to 0. Now, you would expect that a window that is totally clear, that is glass, that has a roughness of 0, would be letting a little bit more light in than this. And so herein lies the problem of cycles. It's not doing a great job of calculating the light passing through. Now, I've seen some tricks, or if you go to the shading workspace, what you can do is do render preview like this. And actually, why don't I even just like delete this face so we can just see in there? Okay. You would expect a little more light to go through. So here's what I've seen people do within their shading workspace. Let's see if I can remember. So you can have a mix shader. So we're going to be like mixing a couple things together. Mix, converter, mix. Sorry, not a converter, a shader, mix shader. So drop this in here. And the other thing we need to mix in here is a transparent shader. So let's shift A and search transparent, or sorry, translucent. No, transparent. There's a difference. Diffuse transmission, we want transparent BSDF, which is this one. And plug this one in the bottom. So this is a mix shader. Oops, and am I doing, no, this, oh shoot. I was doing this on the wrong slot. We need to be on slot 2. So just the regular principled BSDF is this. Slot 2 is the glass. There we go. So we've got our glass here. Shift A, we're going to add a mix shader. Not just a mix shader. And then transparent is the other one. Transparent BSDF is going to be the second one. But then we have to determine, and actually already that looks a little bit better, but because I think it's just sort of like halvesies. So the last thing you need to add is light path. So if we search light path, this is an input. And then is shadow ray is the one you need to plug into the factor. And so I don't 100% understand exactly why this is the method. But now I believe like if you can change the color of the glass and you can still get, it's not perfect. But then would this be the same color? Yeah, so you change it. And so like I've seen people then just like, well then you don't even need the glass. Just make it a regular principled BSDF. So if we go shader, principled, ding, 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 just plug that in there. But then say, where is it? Transmission is at 1. Change the color to be the color you want it to be. Does this color matter? Change this color to be, the same base color. Just eyedropper it. And roughness 0. That can sort of do the same thing. Now this, like, to me, it's like we're playing games here. Like, I'm sorry that I'm like, whoops, I want to be in this one here. this sort of works. But like what I've learned, but this is not caustics, and this does not like cast shadows of light and things like that. So there, believe it or not, there is a way to like do for real caustics in Blender. So let me just delete that. Nah, maybe not delete the light. Keep the light. Okay. Let's go back to my layout here. Because you actually don't even need to use here now. So let's do a couple of things. I wanna add a monkey, and I'm gonna do a control 3 because I want it to be really smooth. And let's just make sure that that's 3, and then I'm going to control A, visual geometry to mesh, and also do a shade smooth like that. And I definitely, because I purposefully want it to be like a very rounded. Next thing I want to add, I also want to add a torus, sort of like that example. And let me just check my add torus menu, and I want a few more minor segments, right? Oh, that's that. Major segments, yeah, up this a little bit, sure. And then let's also just, if we shade smooth, is that going to be enough? Sure. Okay. Let's add some materials onto here. Let's add the glass material. So let's do this one. I'm going to add a new one on here. There's going to be like monkey glass, and make this a glass BSDF like this, and let's add a new material in here. This is going to be donut glass. This is all in the spirit of photorealism, glass BSDF. Okay. Now, step 1. So, it's still just like a little bit blah. First of all, let's turn the roughness down to 0, so that like this is like a very like glassy looking monkey. But we're still not getting like the caustics. So you can see like the light is like shining through. You're getting some of the reflections and stuff like that. But we're not getting sort of the cool sort of magnifying glass effect of the glass. It's just like the light is passing straight through it, which is not necessarily ideal. The glass itself looks pretty good, but we're not getting the caustics. So why don't I even make like the monkey like a little bit green like this. And I also want to make the donut just like the hair like a tiny bit like blue, because I'm trying to replicate that other thing. Let me move this over here. Okay, now caustics. So believe it or not, you just have to turn it on. So like even like look at the green shading of the monkey here. It's just like a flat neutral green. It's not what you would really expect the light shining through it to do. So we just need to enable it in a couple of spots. Step 1, the light. Click on your light. Any light that you want to have caustics, go to the object data properties, and then there's this checkbox here, shadow caustics. Generate approximate caustics and shadows of refractive light. Lights cast through. Okay. This is the way to do it if you're using cycles, if you don't have access to one of these cooler render engines. I've tried to do LuxCore. That's actually a free one, LuxCore. If you want to experiment with it, you can. It's a little bit better, but it's also a little bit worse at other things, which is maybe why it's free. Okay, step 2. We need to turn on caustics for monkey. So that is in the object properties, not the data properties. And it's here in shading. And scroll down a little bit, it's in caustics. So this one we want to cast shadow caustics. What does this say? With refractive materials, generate approximate caustics in shadows of this object. Up to 10 bounces inside this object are taken into account. Lights, caster, and receiver objects must have shadow caustics. Okay, yep. So this says it does up to 10 bounces. So obviously you could tell, like, maybe these more advanced render engines do a lot more than 10 bounces, but let's just turn that on. Okay, so enable that. Let's do the same thing over here as well. On my torus, cast shadow caustics. Final step, the thing that is receiving the caustics, also you need to have this receive shadow caustics. So that's on our floor plane here. I just need, let me put a new diffuse material on here. Not that it really matters, but diffuse BSDF just for fun, because we know it'll always be diffuse. Okay, and then on our floor, go to the object properties, and under shading, we want receive shadow caustics. Okay. So now, let's see, we can see it's working a little bit harder, and you can see that there's bounces happening. So yeah, so take a look at Suzanne here. The shadow, it's doing a little bit nicer. Now I'm noticing here that it's sort of taking into effect the edges of this. So what I really want to do, I'm going to do a Control-2 on my torus here, and I'm going to do a Control-A visual geometry to mesh, and just so that it's like really, really good detail on that. I just want to add, another thing on here too. I just want to add a cube. I just want to see what the effect that it has on a cube. Let's add a glass material on here. New glass BSDF and roughness 0 and object data properties, shading, cast caustics like this. And maybe I need roughness up a little bit on that. IOR, change the IOR value, 1. Anyway, let's see. Let's do a little render here like this. So I'm gonna look at my render settings. Let's go 60 seconds. And let me render. And I'll pause. Okay, so here we go. This was 60 seconds of rendering, and it really only got through about like 50 samples, because it really is like cooking to try to do this. Now take a look. So Suzanne is like a very complicated mesh, and to have caustics that go through it, it doesn't look great. It does a pretty good job of handling sort of the like reflection, but the light passing through and casting a shadow, it actually is still sort of keeping it within the bounds of the shadow, which is a little bit disappointing. Not great. But this is a little bit closer. This is a little bit of a better representation. I think the torus, it looks a little bit nicer. It's because it's a little bit of a simpler shape. And that, like, you can see that it's not as even here. Now, the other thing, I'm going to do this one more time, and I'm going to use a sunlight, because I think that will have a little bit of a different effect. I do kind of want to save this, though. I don't know. I just think it looks cool. Save. And Tech, Fault 24, modeling. This is, Caustics 1. Cool. And the other thing I should do is I need to change my world setting to be black, because, I don't have time for grayness in here. Okay, so let me change this real quick. I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to do a sunlight. And I'm going to see if this has a little bit of a different effect. Excuse me. The old cough. Okay, where's my sunlight? To give me a little bit of an angle. And let's see, strength, strength more. Oh, nope, that's the background I'm changing the strength of. Sun strength, give me, 8.5. And then we need to make sure Shadow Caustics is on for this as well. Let's see if this has a little bit of a different effect. And why don't I even like rotate this torus just a little bit like that. And move you down and over here. Okay, let's try it. Render image. And I'll see you in 60 seconds. All right, of course, it did actually get through more samples this time, but, my positioning wasn't very good, but it actually looks about the same. In fact, I think the donut looks a little bit worse. Look at these lines through here because of the detail on there, and it's still not handling just this cube of glass very well. So choose your battle with the glass and transmission and transparency and stuff like that. You may, if you're just wanting to have like stained glass or something like that, you probably don't need the caustics. You can probably play with the transparency stuff. The caustics are when you really want to have like glass things also cast a shadow, versus just casting like the light transmitting through it. So a couple options in there. And if you're really serious about doing things with glass, Maybe look into LuxCore, the LuxCore render engine, or one of the fancier ones that you may have to pay money for. Or maybe you're like a pirate and you can figure it out how to get it. Okay, next listener request is how to make something look like a miniature. And what I am about to reveal may, be a little anticlimactic, but I just have some tips, So I'm downloading this free. I downloaded. Oh, hold on. Sorry. Thinking. Don't save my Caustics. Okay. I downloaded the ship. This is one of my favorite things. This is from Polyhaven, and you can do some cool stuff with Polyhaven. There's lots of cool free stuff. Okay. It's in pose mode. Huh. Interesting. Oh wow, I didn't even realize this. You can move the masts and stuff. What? This is a rigged ship. Did you guys know this? And the lines will follow it? What? Up, down. Down. What? This is me genuinely being interested in this. How do I move? Oh, you guys, you can put the sails down? Okay, hold. Oh, now I see. It's pointing at the thing. Okay, we got to put all the sails down, right? Donk. Donk. Sails down, sails down. Sails down. Sweet. Okay. What is this one? Oh, yeah, so then this would put this one down. Okay. Nice. Anyway, making a miniature. All right, it's all about just kind of your settings. Let me make sure I'm in GPU. Okay. So first of all, let's just put a plane in here. Oops, undo. I want Shift C. I want all that to be there. Okay, Control A, plane, scale that up so that it's on something. What is this control actually? If I go here and I go to pose mode, what is this on the bottom? That's just the whole thing. Okay. Is this something else in here? Oh, what? Are there cannons? Child fire. Child free. What are these things? Oh, those raise those? Child free. I don't understand that. Child free. Oh, maybe it'll fall off. Okay. Anyway. Regardless. Now, we just need a couple of lights in here, or maybe we can even do sunlight. Let's just do a sunlight like this. For some reason, 8 is the normal amount of sunlight, I think. Strength 8 is a normal sunlight for a sunny day. Maybe a little less. 6. Okay. And let's just make this blue. I mean, we could try to do water or something like that, but just for the purposes of demonstration, it's a dark, it's in the dark blue waters like this. And okay, for good measure, let's import a HDRI super quick. How do we do that? Just kidding, I know how to do it. You go to Polyhaven. Let me open up my browser. Here's where I downloaded the ship from. Let's find a good cloudy or blue sky HDRI. So I'm on Polyhaven. Let's go to HDRIs and find skies, and there's got to be one that's on water like this. Yeah, autumn field pure blue sky. Here we go. Pure sky. Okay, download 4K. EXR file is pretty good. Let's download that real quick. Okay, then I'm going to go to my world properties. My surface will be of type environment. Where is it? Oh, sorry. Surface is background. Color is of type environment texture. Then let's open that up. It's in my downloads. It is. I have to filter. Here it is. Autumn. This. Okay. Cool. Okay. Now, how do you make something look like a miniature? So first, let's talk about how you'd make something look realistic. Now let's do I have a camera in here? Probably not. Shift A. Let's add a camera, and let's do Control Alt 0. So camera's going to be here. So obviously, like moving the camera up close is a great way to make something look real, and having using depth of field is another way to make something look real. And I believe I maybe didn't do it in this class, but just turn on depth of field, and to have a shallow depth of field, you need a smaller number here for your f-stop value under aperture. So I'm on the camera settings. Depth of field is enabled. Aperture is, or the f-stop is the first one under aperture here, and set this down to be like a very low number, like point, or like let's do like 0.6 or something like that. You can change the focus distance like this. The other cool trick that I do quite often is you can have a focus object. So sometimes into the scene I will add a empty like this, maybe plain axes, and I will name it focus object. And you can move it wherever. I don't know where it ended up. There it is. And you can set on your camera. You can set a focus object to be, focus object. And so you can move this around. So this would be GY. And wherever that is, it'll be focused on. So now it's focused on something closer. GY, it's focused a little bit further back. Now, here's the deal. Let's look at the camera settings. Sometimes it helps to use real measurements. So how tall would this ship be? Right now, if I were to measure this with the current system, this ship is 31 meters tall, so that's 100 feet tall. Maybe that's right. Yeah. It feels like it could be an accurate number, maybe less than that, but whatever. And so the camera behaves in it tries to behave like a real camera. So if you're this far away from the ship and the camera is set to 49 millimeters, which is a little bit narrower than your eye sees. I think your eye sees between 35 and 50, somewhere in there. So if you saw a picture of a person standing here and it was a real person, you might be like, yep, that's a real thing. The other thing that is real is the aperture settings, how the camera functions with the depth of field. So if you try to really crank down on this, so a 0.06 f-stop is borderline not a real thing. I think the lowest you can get a 1.1 or something like that lens that has that wide of an aperture. So this, and if you hover over this, it says lower numbers give more defocus, higher numbers give a sharper image. So if we go way up like this, everything's in focus. If we go way down like this, almost nothing is in focus. And so once you start to get into these fantastical levels, this is when the quality of the mesh and the render is still there, but your perception of how it's being seen, the render, might say that it's fake. So if you have a comically shallow depth of field here, this is one way that you can get it to be oh yeah, this is a miniature model. To me, this is one way to do it. If you want to get up close and just play with the focus distance a little bit, so you can say it. Put it right by the sail here. See, I didn't even know where the sail is. There it is. I already went past it. But this is a little silly. So the other thing that you can do is make it a scale size. So let me go back to my camera and set this to be 1 point. Whoops, aperture 1.1. And now let's take our ship here and shrink it down, make it actually miniature. So now let's measure. How tall is the ship? Now, get my ruler out. Now it's only 1 meter tall, 1.7. So it's still like, several feet tall, but it's like a miniature version of it. So let's just see what this looks like with our camera. Now the other thing so let me try to get my camera close like this. Okay, let's see what this render looks like. Where's my focus object? It's way over here. Let's get it into place. Go onto the ship. Yeah, okay. Render image. Oops, but I want to get my settings right. Time limit 5 seconds. Render image. Okay, so you might say, well, like Nolan, now, it's still not that exciting. My suggestions, well, let's put a little like shine in the water, shall we? Roughness down. Yeah, there we go. Now we can see the reflection. I couldn't see the reflection before. So the other, now the way that people shoot miniatures also kind of affects this a little bit. So you probably still want a depth of field, but usually in my head, how this works is do like a little bit of a longer lens, so there's a little bit less like of the fisheye effect. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to zoom out my camera, or like move out. Sorry, if I'm going to go G, sorry, I'll do local transform and just show me my move tool. And I want to move this out, move it out, 0 like this. And then I'm going to make my focal length larger like this. So I'm zooming in. So I think this is the other way that you can do this a little bit. And then, we can do the kind of comically low f-stop here. So let's do like not 0.1, because I think that's too much. Let's go 0.3. And other things in your scene, like relative, kind of make a difference with this too. So let me just add a couple other little things here. Shift D. G, Shift C. Okay, let's do a render like this. So, it's a little bit of a matter of there's a lot of like stylistic choices like this. But I think a couple things. If you're doing like, if you're wanting it to be like top down, like I'm shooting down at a miniature set of things, it's two things: making sure that like your camera angle is right, that you're like looking down on the scene. I think it's the second thing is making sure that you've got a pretty low depth of field, or a pretty low f-stop value for a very shallow depth of field. And the third thing is longer lens, which would mean your camera setting needs to be, like 100, like at least 80, maybe even like 100, something like this, so that you're really zoomed in. If you really want to go crazy with it, you can do like orthographic, because I think that can also actually have that effect. Let's move you down like this. Jeezy. It's doing something very strange with the depth of field if I do orthographic, though. Yeah, funny. That doesn't quite work, does it? Okay, but let me try to get this. I want to try to get this dialed in, because maybe that actually like works really well. So get it right on the front of the boat there, like this. And then let's change my camera settings to be like 0.6. Let's up that a little bit. 0.8. 1.2. Render image. Yeah, this actually might work even better. Yeah, do like orthographic. That really looks like a miniature to me. I don't know. Maybe orthographic is the key. But yeah, longer lens, or even so long that it's orthographic. Yeah, because this is having a very interesting effect, because like usually, so how like light normally works is the reflection of a thing will have the same amount of focus, but here you can see that like this bit of the mast is in focus, but the reflection of it in the water is not. But rather, the reflection of this is in focus here. Interesting. I don't know. I think that looks kind of cool. Maybe play with it. But do like the depth of field, play with the camera focal length, stuff like that. Oh my gosh, it's already been 36 minutes, you guys. I spent too much time. Okay. For you, linked below, is a link to these two things. A fall HDRI JPEG and a fall image JPEG. They're from a couple of years ago. They're from my old neighborhood before I moved. It was a nice fall day, and I took a picture of the sidewalk in front of my house. And then I'd made an HDRI, a 360-degree photo just with my phone camera, and shared it here with you. Now, the one thing I'll say is you can... there are many different apps out there to use to create a 360-degree image, but the one that I've seen recently that people have used and is from a reputable developer is the Google Street View. The Google Street View app, so I believe it's available for both iOS and Android. But it's you basically create your own 360-degree views. You don't have to share it with Google, but it allows you to create them. So like what you do is you like open it up and you take one picture, and then it like shows you where you need to fill in to finish all the pictures. And then before you upload it to Google, you can just hit share, and it'll just generate an image for you that you can save on, like email it to yourself and save it or whatever. So this is the one I would recommend, the Google Street View app, or like you just do an internet search and you can find it. Oh yeah, so let me go back to this. So this is what I created for you. So here's my fall HDRI. Let me open that. Will it open? Yeah. So it's it's like really stretched out, but you can see this is where I was standing on the bottom. We were selling my house at the time, so there's a for sale sign, and I also blurred out my children's face there. And then this is the image. So it's like the same spot, but it's just the sidewalk. Like it's an actual image. So first, let me download both of these. So just download these, download both. Okay, two selected. Great. Let's go over to Blender. And I'll still use this. I'll still use the ship. But then let's delete all these other things. Delete, and delete that thing. And okay, my camera I do want to change to be perspective, and whatever, 60 doesn't matter. Okay. All right, so I already showed you how to make a HDRI environment like this. And actually, why don't I delete the sun too? But I'm just going to replace this real quick. So, and just a reminder, go to your world properties. Change your surface should be background. Your color should be a environment texture like this. And then just locate whichever you end up doing. It's going to be, let's see, I put it in fall 24. It is fall HDRI. So you can use a regular image, you can use an EXR or whatever. We'll open it like this. Okay, and here is my HDRI. So this is it all stitched together. There's my shoes, my dirty shoes. This is my old neighborhood. Wow, yeah. I don't live here anymore, so you can try to dox me or whatever. But I think I obscured everything anyway. Okay. So, what does an HDRI do? The main thing is it casts environmental light onto your scene, where it's not actually going to appear in our render right now, but we need to set up something else real quick. Okay, this is a third party thing. So this is not included with Blender. It is totally free, and it is endorsed by myself. You're not downloading a virus, but doing this is optional. This is not something that's included with Blender, but I think it's really cool, and it's fast and easy, and I've done it a bunch. It's called fSpy. So the web address is fSpy.io. Two things to do. Number one, download the program. If you hit this green download thing, it'll open up a thing. And you can download, whatever you need. I believe it's available for Mac and So if you're on a Mac, you can use this DMG. If you're on Windows, you can use the zip, or you can do the executable. But otherwise, download whichever one works for you. Second thing, you need the Blender add-on. So there's like two parts. There's the fSpy program. And then there's the Blender add-on. So official fSpy importer add-on. So you can click this link here. And under code here, you can just download zip like this. Download zip. And that'll, download the Blender plugin. So then first thing we have to go into Blender and add that add-on. So go to your edit menu, preferences, and go to add-ons. And do I already have it in here, by the way? No, I don't. Okay. So we need to install from disk. So hit this little drop down in the top right here, install from disk, and go to your downloads and find, the fSpy. It would be fSpy master. This one here. Install from disk. Okay. And then is it in? Did it work? Do I have it? Import. Now I need to double check. Oops, sorry. Okay, I gave you bad intel. It's not. You don't download that one from here. You have to go down, scroll down, download the add-on, download the latest version. So this is fSpy Blender xyz.zip. Excuse me. So why do I keep getting the runaround here? fSpy Blender 103. Oh yeah, okay, so this is what you want. fSpy Blender 103 zip. There we go. Not the master, it's the Blender one. Okay. Okay. So now I go to edit preferences, and you can see I've downloaded this a couple times over the years. Install from disk. And it's in my downloads, and I want to search for fSpy. It's Blender 103. That's the Blender add-on. Install from disk. There it is. Import fSpy project. So now I should have the import somewhere in here. There it is at the bottom, fSpy. Okay, now, and then the other thing you need to do is you need to download the program itself. So now I got to go back here. fSpy. Which one is it? Hold on. I just want to make sure I'm directing you to the right thing. So if you go to download, yes, these ones from download, the ones that don't say Blender are the ones that are the actual program. Okay, so we have the add-on installed into Blender, and now we need to open up the fSpy program. So fSpy. So go through the process to install it. This says drop an image or project in here. So let me now go find my fall image. And drop it in here. Okay, so now when you're in fSpy, and I realize that this is teeny tiny because this one doesn't follow the zooming, but you just need to, there's two sets of lines. There's which are vanishing points, green and red, and you need to find parallel lines, or just kind of that vanish in the same direction. So thankfully, with this image, the sidewalk is a pretty good candidate for this. So I'm going to move the end. I can click and drag on these green lines here on the ends of the green lines and kind of mark where the vanishing point would be on this side of, or going in this direction, and I can line it up with the lines of the sidewalk. The other thing I could do with the red ones is just go the other way, but to be even more accurate, it's better to do things that travel further. So I'm actually going to do the curb here. So I'm going to do like the front of the curb like this. And it's a little tricky to see. Then I'm going to do the curb back here like this. And you can see that it starts to like generate the lines for us, the plane. So you can see like this is Z up, this is X, Y that way, X that way. It's looking pretty good. Now, just because I'm curious, I want to see what it would look like if I was doing it along the sidewalk here like this. Probably the same. Yeah, it looks about the same. Okay, cool. Great reference distance. Yep, cool. Number of vanishing points. So you could do one, I suppose, if you really wanted to. But cool. So let's save that, or let's export project image. No. Do we just save this? Save as. Let's save as. Let's go to fall 24. This is going to be modeling. This is going to be my like fall fSpy. Does it save it as like the fSpy image we need? Let me go to my fall 24 folder. Modeling. Yeah, fall fSpy.fSpy. Okay, great. So now next we go to file, import fSpy.fSpy. And I got to go to my modeling class and click on fall fSpy.fSpy, import fSpy project. Okay, great. And there it is. Now, here's what it's done. It has put the image onto like the background of my camera. So when I click on my camera like this and I go to the camera settings, there is, let's see. Or does it do it in compositing? If I go to my compositing workspace, no, how does it do this? I'm trying to remember exactly how this works. Because it puts a background image in the camera. Background image? No. Because if I render image. Oh yeah, so it's not doing right. Here's what okay. I think this is a step I need to add. Real quick. So you can see that it changed the camera settings in my scene to match the camera of like the size and aspect ratio of the camera, but it didn't actually put the image in there. But I can see it here. I'm missing a step. Anyway, I'm just going to enable background image like this, and I'm going to add an image, and I'm going to open the fall image like this. Open image. And is that all I need to do? View as render, fall image. Apply render part of display transformation when displaying this image on the screen. No. Okay, hold on. I need to pause. Aha. Okay. Because there was already a camera in the scene, that's what's throwing it off. So the fSpy camera is the camera. So like this was the camera that was in here before that I was messing with. Delete that. I want this fSpy camera to be my active camera like this. Okay, here we go. This one has a background image. The background source is of image fSpy. Okay, got it. Now, if I do compositing, let's do a little bit of compositing so that we can put this together. So we need alpha. So I need to go to my render settings. I need film on. Actually, okay. hold on, even more. I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. Okay. So we're seeing the HDRI, and we're seeing the image that we're going to drop the model into, but they're not lined up. They're not quite right. So first step, what I need to do is what I could do is just try to move the camera to try to get it right. But I think it's actually going to be easier to try and move the HDRI, just rotate it a little bit so it's sort of facing the same way. So let's go to our world properties, and let's actually go to our shading workspace. Shading workspace, please. There we go. And nope. And actually, is it? Yeah. Which one do I want to do? No, I think it's yes. Shading workspace. And where are we here? Why can't I see anything? Ah, here it is. For some reason, I just could not remember where it was. Okay, rather than so we're in the shading workspace here. Excuse me. Sorry. Sorry if I coughed in your ears. Rather than object shader type, we want to look at the world shader type. Here we go. And we need to change the texture coordinate in here. So we need an input. We need I think it's just object info like this. No, it's not that one. Is it texture coordinate? And UV, is this it? And then we need vector map, vector transform, right? You guys, I'm a little rusty. No, not vector transform. It is mapping, PP, vector mapping. Here we go. And it's the generated texture coordinate that is our input vector. And then we output this to here. Okay. So let's go to our camera view like this. And so we're kind of seeing the shadow, the ghost of the image on top like this. So now we can just change the rotation. It would be the Z rotation to rotate the HDRI to kind of be lined up. So I want like the angle of the sun basically to line up. So it's, I just need to rotate like 20 degrees or something like that. And again, it's not perfect. You can see, you can kind of see the ghost of the car here versus the car on the HDRI. So we're just trying to get the right angle-ish. Okay, cool. Almost there, actually. No, I think that's a little bit too far. It doesn't have to be perfect. And the reason to do this is because, with the model I'm using, I don't even really need this HDRI. But if you were to do something shiny and you wanted to have the reflection of the stuff on it, this is why you do it. So, calling this good. Now, let's go back to my layout view like this. We can kind of forget about that. Okay. Let's take our ship and G, Shift Z. Let's kind of move it over into here. R, Z, move it like this. Okay, final step now. We do want a sunlight, and so it is casting some environmental light, but we do want some real shadows. So I'm just going to Shift A, add a sunlight into the scene here, and I'm gonna kind of move it up. Where are you? It's over there. I'm gonna sort of put it. Whoops. I'm gonna get at the right angle here. I'm gonna put it kind of where the sun is up there, and then have it shine at, have it shine at the thing there. So you can kind of see I'm also making a shadow with my body here like this. So maybe try to line that up a little bit better so the shadow is right. Maybe. Yeah, that's close enough. Okay. And then obviously we need something, we need the shadow to be hitting something. So we do need a mesh, a plane like this. And G-Shift-Z like this. Okay. And we can call this a shadow catcher. Don't need transform. We need visibility. And we need shadow catcher there like this. Okay, last thing. Now let's turn on transparency so that we're not seeing quadruple, triple of stuff. So go to my render settings and go to film and turn on transparent like this. Okay. So now we're not being distracted by the HDRI. We're just seeing the ship here floating RZ like this in on my sidewalk. So I don't know, pretty good. Next step, I think I need to go to my fSpy camera and I want to go to my camera settings and my background image, and I want to turn the opacity up. So I'm seeing the full opacity of the ship in here. RZ. So the ship is like, oops, and I want to select the whole ship. RZ like this. So the ship is like sailing on my sidewalk now. So, up the strength of the lighting a little bit because I want the shadows to be good. So I don't know. So look at the shadows of this onto like compared to the angle of the shadow of that tree. I don't know. Is it right? Is it wrong? You might need to change the angle of the sun a little bit, so it's a little bit longer. Maybe we need the shadows to be like a little darker. Cast shadows, custom properties. How could we up the shadows a little bit without like making it too bright? The other thing that you can do to change the shadows, so you could try to get creative with some of your shading node stuff. Like you could try to do the mix thing again with the sunlight, so that like the shadow is darker. You could do some ambient occlusion passes. The other thing that's happening right now, if I go back to my layout view here, is that because my ground plane is white, it's like casting some white light up onto here. So what you could do is you could also try to like make this be like an image texture, so to cast realistic light on it. Or probably a little easier step is you could just eyedropper this to try to get the right color. Eyedropper and be like, yeah, you're kind of medium gray like that, and roughness is pretty high. Now here's the other cool thing though about like. So this is the shadow catcher, by the way. So if you move this out of the way, the shadows wouldn't be there. So you do need some like a shadow catcher there to just catch the shadow. What you could do now that we have the HDRI is you could do something like really shiny. So just for funsies, I'll put a UV sphere in here and do Control 2 and right click shade smooth, and then also just put a new material in here and make this chromed out. And move it over here. So because we have, I'll scale you down. Why is it there? Go here. So because we have the HDRI, this reflection is, the reflection from the HDRI. So yeah, you can see my little kid there, 2 years younger. But one thing you're probably, and actually it's not terribly noticeable because I think we did a pretty good job, but you can see the reflection of the shadow catcher. So you can't hide the shadow catcher. Whoops, G, Shift C, no, G, Shift Z. But you can get creative with it and just give you what you need. The other thing I should say, and I probably went through this a little bit too quickly, but it's probably because I spent more time on the other stuff. But when you add something to the scene, it makes like because how we said we told it where the vanishing point was. It created a camera that was in the same position as the camera in the scene, and it made the ground at like level 0. So when you add something into the scene here, it's adding it at the origin point, which would be like exactly ground level. So it's important that when you add things that you like keep track of like the relative position. So if something's on the ground, when you add into the scene, you need to go G Shift Z so that it doesn't move in the Z at all. But then if something needs to be up in the air, G Z, it's like kind of in the right space. So it's like, oh, well, this is an umbrella that's shading it, And so now it's just a matter of like really dialing in so let's do a quick render real quick. So let me go Cycles GPU compute. Let time limit 5 seconds. Great. Let's do a file render like this. Render image. Let's just check the compositing, and we'll call this good. So, it's just doing it's not adding in the background image. So we just have to do an alpha over real quick. But luckily you already knew that because you watched the compositing lecture from last week. We can call this good. The other, we maybe need to just do shadows real quick. So I'm gonna do another render pass real quick. So I'm gonna go to my passes, and let's do which one would be best? Let's do ambient occlusion, I suppose. And the light just isn't at the right angle for me. I think I need it to be like, I need to be a little bit more at an angle like this. Yeah, we'll see. Okay. Do render image again. So this is also going to do the pass, the ambient occlusion pass, and we can adjust the shadows if we need to. The other thing to just like be aware of or think about is the depth of field. Does your camera have, or does your photo have a certain depth of field? I believe this one did not have a ton of depth of field, so I'm not going to worry about it for this one. I think most, if you're taking pictures with your phone, it's not going to have a crazy depth of field. Okay, closing that. Now let's go to our compositing workspace. We're using nodes. It'll take a moment for that to update. So let's also just get, I'm going to change this down here to be my image editor. And I also need to viewer node out here. Output viewer. Great. Image. Okay. And I don't want it on the backdrop. I would rather have it down here. Viewer node. None of those. Viewer node. It's at the bottom. Okay. Viewer node. So, real quick, this is kind of a refresher. Input. We need an image. Open. I'm going to find my fall image. There we go. Open. Great. You have to be careful with the scaling of things because it may be scaled down on your scene settings, but hopefully not. Okay. Shift A, we need alpha over. Alpha over. Nope, not set alpha. Shift A, search alpha over. There we go. It's color mix. Okay. We need, let's see, one of these goes in here, one of these goes in here, and the alpha data goes into the alpha over like this. Nope, as usual, I somehow always get it backwards. There we go. Okay, so here's our view node down here. It's doing the compositing. Next, let's just see what we get from the ambient occlusion like this. Yeah, what do we do with the ambient occlusion? And let's just try it. So let's do Control Shift click there. Let's do mix color here, and we're gonna mix we need the alpha of that into here, and we also need the ambient occlusion down here. But actually, so this is happening out of order. So don't cut that, this, and cut this. This one's gonna come out of here and go into here. And then we need this image to go into here like this. And then we want to see that. Oh, and rather than make it, we need multiply. I need to like actually do the multiplication. Okay. And then, we could do like a contrast, brightness contrast like this. On the ambient occlusion, we could change the contrast of this. Change the brightness. I don't know. You can figure it out. You can get creative with the thing. Okay, and then let's do one more render image. Oops, and I need to output this to the composite in here like that. Okay, render image. So, you should and can spend more time than I did on this. But, it's kind of cool. So there's a ship sailing down my sidewalk in Minneapolis. So you're welcome to use my HDRI and my image. If you want, you're welcome to use one that you create, or you're welcome to not put your thing in an image. You know, this isn't a particularly like great example. I don't know. I mean, it looks kind of cool, but to me, you know, you can still kind of like the model. It's the mesh itself. You know, seems a little bit fakey. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe it needed to be smaller, or maybe I should have used something different. Oh, I thought I had the sails down too. Why weren't the sails down? Hey. Oh, I must have put them up. Anyway. Okay. So like you don't have to put your photorealism thing in an image. I just think this is kind of a cool thing because I had like this is something I've actually had to do in real life that I got paid to do was put a 3D model in a thing. You've maybe heard me mention it before, but like the company I work for, we have a 3D bike that is sort of does things on its own. It's like a riderless bike. And they wanted to have it like in an office, in one of our offices. So it's like, here it is in Charlotte, North Carolina, in our office. And it's like, and so I had to just put the bike in the office. So this is a thing that actually happens that, you know, anyway. So wrap up your photorealism assignment. Let me double check the schedule now because I'm doubting myself a little bit. Opening, efforting, modeling, fall 2024. Yes. Also, let me add glass to that. So you don't have a quick model this week because I want you to focus on finishing up your photorealism assignment. Hopefully, like I already did a good job of explaining what I'm looking for. And you can put it in a photo. You can put it in a virtual place that you make. You can just have like a white seamless background if you really want to, but we're going for photorealism. Email me with questions. Thanks for hanging around with this one. And I'm sorry, I feel like I rushed through the fSpy thing a little bit, but it's pretty easy. It's pretty intuitive. I think you can figure it out. Okay, that's all. Goodbye.